I love Baldur's Gate 3 and I love Baldur's Gate 3 challenge runs. Not doing them, I am nowhere near good enough for that, but watching them, that I can do. So the other day I was watching a few as you do, and it must have been a sign as multiple different videos that I was watching did that thing where they show the game time, but what I noticed is that the people doing them didn't have all the achievements. Obviously there's nothing wrong with this, some people just aren't bothered, but as someone who has already platted the game, it got me to thinking about how difficult is the platinum really? Which then cascaded into me wondering if you could get every achievement or trophy in the game in one single playthrough. And well, this is what spawned from that thought. You can consider this somewhat of a guide, as I'm going to go into most of the achievements, but everything that's not achievement related, I'm just going to quickly skim through. I assume you've played the game before if you're watching this video. First thing to note upon starting the game is that you have to pick Honor Mode, as there is an achievement for that, and also beating Honor Mode also pops the Tactician difficulty trophy as well. Our journey really begins though, as it always does, in character creation. Now for achievements, your class and race and all that doesn't matter, so you can pick whatever you want. I go Paladin just because I think it's the easiest one to play. The only thing you need to make sure you do at this point is play as the Dark Urge, as there is a couple of Dark Urge exclusive achievements way later in the game. I'm talking like Act 3. The game begins on the Nautiloid as normal. We meet Lae'zel, defeat an enemy with an unarmed attack here for that achievement, and then find Shadowheart in the pod. Now each of the 6 playable Origin characters have an achievement tied to them, and for Shadowheart you need to hear a specific piece of dialogue later in the game where she says she likes the Night Orchids. I don't actually know if this is tied to how much she likes you, but just to be safe I made sure to free her and was just generally friendly with her wherever I could be throughout the game. Last thing we have to do is the Escape the Nautiloid fight, where we need to defeat Commander Zalek. Before that though, I used one of these imps to get the improvised melee weapon trophy, and then I died. GG's, runs dead, cannot platinum Baldur's Gate 3 in one playthrough, is what I would say. Now I know this point's about to lose people, as I used a pretty big exploit. Some of you might know about this already, but for those that don't, after dying in Honor Mode, I continue the save dishonorably, then I edit the difficulty to be all Explorer settings before then saving that game, returning to the main menu and link a Larian account and sync my game saves to the Larian account. Then I close the game, delete my save data from the console. I'm playing on PlayStation, but I can't see why this wouldn't work on an Xbox or a PC either. Then after deleting the save data, I reopen the game, wait for the game to pull the saves from the Larian account and resync the save I just deleted, and upon reloading that save, my Honor Mode status is restored, but the changes I made in the difficulty are also in effect. So I have a lot more HP and the game is generally a lot easier despite it thinking I'm on Honor Mode. Some people probably consider this cheating. I personally only think it's cheating if you straight up hack the game, which I didn't do here, obviously. This exploit has also existed and been known about for a while. I found out about it in January of 2024, so it's at least that long old, and it's still in the game. They've had a lot of patches since then, they could have figured out a way to patch it. Plus the title of the video is Can You Platinum the Game? Not Can You Do It Without Exploiting at All. And plus, I think it is still possible. On regular Honor Mode, everything I do in this video is just going to be much harder. And I didn't want this playthrough to last as long as it would have otherwise. Anyway, getting back to the game, I defeated Commander Zalek and got the sword that I actually ended up using the whole game. And the trophy for defeating him before escaping the Nautiloid and beginning Act 1. We wake up on the beach and awaken Shadowheart. As I said, all the Origin companions have achievements, so we need to get all of them as soon as possible. First though, I took the time in this TikTok fight to defeat an enemy by shoving him off this small ledge for that achievement. I then finished up my starting party by also grabbing Astarion and Gale, and because I was mashing, I very nearly cut Gale's hand off, which would have been bad. With our motley crew assembled, I went to go do something very important. Did you think I was talking about the Withers dungeon? You'd be wrong. I actually meant grabbing this shovel just outside it. There's a trophy for digging up 5 treasure chests, and this is one of the few achievements I'm not going to mention every single time I progress it. There are more than enough hidden treasures in just Act 1, and you can find them in a passive survival check. I actually just looked this up for the video, but you can actually dig in the spot even if you fail the check, provided you know where to look, so it's not even a missable thing if you have too many bad rolls, which is nice. I did then do the Withers dungeon because it was there, and then went and recruited Lae'zel, making sure the tieflings were out of sight before freeing her. Aradin died in the fight outside of the grove, but last time I checked he's not a tiefling, or will I guess, so that sounds like a whole lot of not my problem. Plus he's kind of a dick. Let's unpack that previous sentence though. Will is obvious, he's a companion with an achievement, so we need him. But what about the tieflings? Why do they need to survive? That's because of the trophy Leave No One Behind, which needs you to save every tiefling refugee you can throughout the game. This one is kind of famously unclear in achievement hunting circles. People online have been discussing who counts and who doesn't count, and some people have conflicting information where if they let someone die they got the achievement, but some other person let that person die and didn't get the achievement. It's weird. I'm not going to unpack all that and try and figure it out right now what it is. What I will tell you is I got it in this run, so everything I do triggered it. A lot of the work for this achievement though starts at the Grove. First I went and saved Nadira from this bugbear on top of the Grove wall. I don't know if this one is time-based or what, so I always come and do this one right away. Next I convinced Roland and his siblings to stay in the Grove. As a paladin, I didn't even need to pass a check, which was nice. Briefly stopped talking to tieflings to grab Will, who won't be in my party until much later, and only very briefly, sorry Will. Head to the Grove part of the Grove to save Murkon from these harpies, and then save Arabella from getting eaten by a rogue snake. I've never let her die, so I'm just going to assume that the snake eats her in one bite. Last thing I wanted to do in the Grove for now is open this chest here to get the letter which tips you off to the other note from the Shadow Druids, and now's a good time to mention that there is a trophy for reading 100 books. Now books actually refers to anything readable in the game, so that note right there, that counts as a book. This is another one I'm not going to mention again. There are so many books in the game, just make sure you read them every time you see them and you will be fine. After that, I defeat these guys standing outside the Grove to get a tadpole. I can't use it yet, but better to get it now than forget about it. I went in the owlbear cave, said hello, and then backed away slowly to trigger the cub later. Then I went and got Scratch, who is the best boy, before then going to grab Karlach and defeating the fake paladins for her to get her in my team. Now Karlach has probably the rarest of the companion achievements, needing you to romance her and see her Act 3 romance event. As such, she's going to be in my party, and I'm basically going to do everything so that she will like me more. Returning to the Grove, I get the Infernal Iron location from Dammon for the Karlach quest before going to deal with Sazza. I use Detect Thoughts on this tiefling for an achievement before convincing her to stand down, and once no one is around, I bust Sazza out of jail and head out the secret entrance at the back, making sure Sazza is nowhere near the combat and statue turrets before I turn them off. And once it's safe, I lead her out and she promises to help me out in the goblin camp. Heading to the Blighted Village, I got the Infernal Iron for Karlach in one of the cellars. It's the one that connects to the spider fight, which we'll do a bit later. I then went to the Alchemist cellar and summoned Shovel for that achievement before returning to Dammon to progress the Karlach quest. Then it was onwards to the Goblin camp where we got saved by the Astral Prism and find out Shadowheart is a Shah worshipper. I then decided to spam long rests just to get as many of the events as I could, starting with the Will and Karlach event, which was easy enough to keep them both. Before I did that more, I went and got the owlbear cub from the goblins outside, and the next long rest was the one where you first meet the Dream Guardian and gain the ability to use tadpoles, so I did that for the trophy. I also took this time to talk to Shadowheart, telling her I'm cool with Shah worshippers, and then asking about her hobbies, to which she says she likes night orchids, at which point she is promptly removed from the team, so I don't have to ever worry about her not hitting attacks, at least for a little bit. Then we encounter a problem. The next long rest event is a Dark Urge specific event where Alfira shows up at the camp and, well, she doesn't survive the night. Problem is, we need her alive for the Leave No One Behind achievement, but we also need to long rest to progress the game. After mulling it over and consulting reddit.com, a plan emerges. It's alright, she's not dead, she's just knocked out. Now, instead of Alfira, the event will feature a Dragonborn called Quill. And yes, she still dies, but last I checked, Dragonborn were not tieflings, so I don't care. More long rest spam to get Mizora giving Will his horns, Scaleritis' first appearance and getting a cool cape, finding out Astarion is a vampire and letting him bite me for that achievement. Scratch gives me his ball, which I immediately throw and he brings it back, giving me a trophy for playing fetch. The Lae'zel vs Shadowheart event where I keep them both alive. The first Owlbear Cub event where I passed the check. The second one where I again passed the check, so now he is at camp. Doing this also got me the 4 long rest achievement, even though I'm sure I've done more than 4, but whatever. And finally the Scratch and Owlbear Cub event where you make sure to pet both of them for another achievement. After that I went to talk to Minthara, who was going to kill Sazza, so I told her that she didn't know I was a true soul to keep Sazza alive for Act 2. Unfortunately, keeping Sazza alive means that Minthara now knows the location of the Grove and is going to attack it where all the tieflings are. And I think attacking her here would turn the whole camp hostile and, as I said, I need Sazza alive. The assault triggers after another long rest, so first I had a few things I wanted to do to level up a bit more. First, I got Astarion arrested and then broke out of jail and escaped out the back for another trophy. Next, I went to get more EXP to level up, but not before feeding Gale. At various points in Act 1, Gale will ask for a magic item to eat for a total of 3. You need to do this, otherwise he leaves and you won't be able to get his achievement later. I then went and talked to Auntie Ethel, who's being accosted, but I'm just now realizing I never followed up on this at all, so this is all you're going to see of this plotline. I went and did the fight to the south, got the Shadow Druid letter, returned to the Grove, and defeated the Shadow Druids. After that, I figured I was leveled enough to do the Grove Assault, where I sided with the Tieflings, obviously. And I also had to make sure that none of them died at any point in the fight, otherwise I would have to reload the fight. You're not supposed to be able to reload on Honor mode, which the game thinks we're on, remember? But on PS5 at least, if you just close the game from the dashboard, you can reopen it and reload your save with no penalty. I can't speak for if other platforms work the same way though, but I would imagine they would. Anyway, for the gate defense, I was planning on keeping Minthara alive, but she got caught in an explosion and died, and I just decided to play on, seeing as how she's not actually needed for any of the trophies. There were no casualties from my side, so press on we must. I go to get the rewards from the Druid's Grove and pick up some alchemy ingredients, at which point I remembered that there's actually an alchemy trophy. You need to make 3 solutions. How this works is once you get 3 of any ingredient, you can get a particular extract, and then to make a solution, it's normally 1 specific extract plus any extract of a particular type. This is another one I'm just not going to go in depth on, just make sure you pick up ingredients whenever you can or buy them from shops, and you'll get enough to make 3 unique solutions pretty easily. After that, I had the Tiefling party where Karlach wanted to romance me, which is good. I was worried that she wouldn't like me enough, but that worry was for naught. Before moving on to the crest though, there were a few more things I wanted to do, and some of them were even trophy related. I went to save Barcus from these goblins here, but accidentally launched him because I flipped the wrong lever. I considered reloading, but say it with me, he's not a tiefling, so he's not my problem. I then went to fight the big spider. Close your eyes if you're arachnophobic, and open them when I'm on to the next point. You need to defeat the spider before it forces the eggs on the sides of the arena to hatch, but we wrecked her before she had a chance to, so another achievement gotten. That basically wrapped up the achievements in Act 1, but I did want to get a bit more EXP before I progressed to the Creche. Voss also believed us, so the gift there weren't hostile, which is helpful. I saved the people at Waukeen's Rest, defeated Flind and the Gnolls, and then helped this guy find his dead wife's dowry in a quest I've never done before moving on to the Mountain Pass. I beelined right for the Creche, only fighting the kobolds along the way. I did the Zaithisk bit to appease Lae'zel before attempting to hand over the artifact to the Kithrak, as if you refuse to hand it over then you need to do a fight here, but if you just give it to her you get permission to go see the Inquisitor without fighting. Well, fighting immediately anyway. You still have to fight the Inquisitor, and I managed to keep Lae'zel on side for it. After that, it's the whole rigmarole with Vlaakith and the Dream Guardian, and if I had attempted to leave the way I came, I would have had to fight the whole Creche, so instead I greased up the statues and went out the secret exit to find the Blood of Lathander. Grabbing this without doing a puzzle that I skipped activates the Creche's self-destruct system, and I managed to get everyone out except Astarion, and I only did that because I think his dialogue is really funny if you leave him to get incinerated.
What in the sweet hells were you thinking, activating that blood? I was right there! Gods! Do you have any idea how much that hurt? Well, apparently there's a limit. Somewhere between a nice summer's day and the full concentrated power of the sun! Next time, just warn me before you do something stupid. At least then I can get out of the blast radius. Now, shall we go? Or do you have any other chaos you need to unleash here?
Stealing the Blood of Lathander gives us a good weapon and an achievement. Upon trying to go back to the Grove area to get to the Underdark, we're forced into camp where Voss approaches us, and after a bit of back and forth we agree to ally with him against Vlaakith for Lae'zel's companion achievement. Returning to where we fought the spider, I used Featherfall to jump down this hole to the Underdark just because I've never gone this way before. I normally go through the Goblin camp. In the Underdark, I head straight to the Myconid colony to grab Glut and then defeat the Dwegar at the docks, where Glut also died, but that's fine, I was going to kill him afterwards anyway. I head onto the boat to the Forge, where I ally with Brithvar, shank the eye as he says, get the vial from Philomene, and defeat Nier. Before then going to get my rewards from the Myconids for both the Dock Dwegar and for bringing Nier's head. I then headed for what I figured would be the most difficult battle in Act 1, against Grimm. So I grabbed the heavy armor mold as I also use it all game, as well as all the ore I need and get ready for the fight. I haven't mentioned it yet, but despite the exploit I did earlier, the game does still think this is honor mode, so bosses still have their legendary actions. For Grimm's achievement, you need to defeat him without using the hammer on him at all. He has a ton of resistances and his legendary action gives him temporary hit points, so the battle lasted a while, but I didn't have any thought out strategy for this. My biggest worry is that Grimm himself activated the hammer on the last turn, so I was worried that would void the achievement, but it didn't hit him, so it turned out fine. It did, however, make it so I didn't get the achievement for forging something, I guess because I didn't hit the lever myself. But luckily, I got the second ore piece, so I just made another set of armor, and the achievement popped, and it was time to move on to the shadow-cursed lands of Act 2. Oh god, Act 2. Let's just get out of here as fast as possible. Pretty much right away, Elminster's here, and skipping through the dialogue a bit, he cures Gale's magic item hunger and gives us another trophy. Moving forward, we help out some Harpers before finding a nearby Night Orchid flower and giving it to Shadowheart for another achievement. We head to Last Light Inn, which, fun fact, I completely missed on my first playthrough. Don't know how that happened. Here we talk to Damon, who points us to more Infernal Iron for Karlach, talk to Roland, who sulks a bit, and then we talk to Mole, who's playing with Raphael. Just realised this is the first time I've mentioned Raphael. Whoops. I decided to long rest before the big fight where Mizora shows up and says to rescue an asset from Moonrise. Now here I believe you need to actually succeed a passive perception check, which then lets you ask for Will's pack to be broken, which you need to do. If you don't get the check, I guess you just reload. I don't actually know if you can get it without it. After that, I do the Last Light Inn fight where I have to make sure to save Isabel. At the time, I thought that letting her die would lock me into the Dark Urge evil ending instead of just the normal evil ending, but looking up now, that actually might not be true. But better safe than sorry, right? I then go get the lantern from Karnis, telling him to walk without it, get the pixie blessing, and continue south where I find Roland, who tried to save his siblings himself. I save him and he returns to Last Light, and actually I go back too because I forgot to tell the kids that I would save Mole. They're talking about going to rescue her themselves, and I don't know if they actually do it, but this way I know they'll stay put and survive. Moving on, I next decided to fight all the Thorns. Well, fight is probably a stretch. I convinced Gerengoth to explode with dialogue. My choices were throw 1 gold piece, how much, I don't do that for so little, and then the 2 persuasion options. This gets the Gerengoth trophy without needing to do any combat. Outside, I defeated Shadow-Cursed Karnis and friends, and then drunk with Thistlebold until he exploded. He doesn't have an achievement for some reason, however this location is a great place to find alcohol, which you can use for the long rest with only alcohol trophy. And with these easier settings, you actually only need 20 camp supplies. Naturally, if you aren't using the exploit, you'll need a lot more. I figured I'd finish off the Thorns first before going to Moonrise, but first I ran into Arabella, who wanted me to go find her parents, and I did in the House of Healing. Well, they're corpses anyway. I then got Malice to get the sisters to off themselves and then killed him in battle before he does surgery, as he always prioritizes trying to revive them and thus won't do the surgery move, which nets us another trophy. I grabbed the Infernal Iron and gave it to Damon, so now I can touch Karlach. Returning to camp, I tell Arabella her parents are dead, to which she blames me, which is kind of unfair, but whatevs. I long rest expecting the Karlach romance event, but instead got Sceleritus telling me to kill Isabel, which, no, I'm not going to do that. I talk to Arabella and Withers in the morning to finish her quest, and then rest again to get the Karlach event, which I can't show much of if I want my channel to stay up. I finally head to Moonrise, where J. Jonah Jameson tells me to kill some goblins. I don't though, and get the achievement for keeping Sazza alive at every point she can get killed. After talking to Zarel, I go to Balthazar's room and crucially leave this door open. Heading to the basement to do one of my least favourite quests because it kept breaking in my first playthrough 2 years ago, that being for rescuing the Moonrise prisoners. But that was almost 2 years ago, as I said. I'm sure the quest works properly now, with no problems. I did the quest, kept everyone alive, everyone survived and got on the boat. Look, here's the trophy pop for getting everybody out of Moonrise Towers. When we arrive at Last Light Inn, you can even see all 4 tieflings are there. But when I went to Roland and the brother, I'm sorry I forgot his name, they were talking about how Leah died. But she's not, she was there. So I reloaded and made extra sure she was alive this time. I have no idea why that happened the first time, but the second time everything worked. So fine, I'll move on. I figured I'll just breeze through the end of Act 2 because there's not a whole lot left to do, achievement-wise. So I headed for the Gauntlet of Shar, the worst part of the game, on repeat playthroughs. In there, I fought Balthazar at the earliest opportunity, barely defeated Yurgir. Like, watching this back, I was so close to dying. Got the Spear of Night from the library, mostly because I knew there was a lot of books in the library. Because remember, we still need to read 100 books. and then got Gale to use knock on the final door to avoid having to do the trials because I'd really rather not, truthfully. Now that I know about knock working on this door, you can guarantee I will never be doing the trials normally again. Shadowheart threw the spear away and we saved the night song, hooray. Heading back to Moonrise, Scaleritus showed up and told me to kill Isabel again. Still no. And then instead of doing the lobby fight, I climbed up here instead and entered through the door in Balthasar's room that I left open earlier. I did get the letter from Ketheric's wife to convince him to surrender on the roof, so I would at least have the option to skip the first phase later. Did the roof fight, went into the colony, and went and saved Zevlor and these other guys from the pods, and then made sure to keep Zevlor alive in the following fight. Just past that room is Mizora, who I let out, and then she says that Will be free from his pact in the next 5 to 7 business days. Moving right along to the final boss of Act 2, skipping all the dialogue, I eventually got to a choice. That being whether I get him to surrender and skip the Ketheric fight, or fight Ketheric before the Avatar of Merkel. I ultimately decided to fight the first phase so that I could save Aelin in that and have her immediately ready to assist in the Merkel fight. The trophy here is for defeating him before he can absorb any Necromites, and I'll just say we demolished him in one turn. Bro didn't even have a chance. After that, I ended Act 2 by finding out the Dream Visitor was a Mind Flayer the whole time. What? Crazy. And saved him from some Githyanki. Waving goodbye to Act 2 and also Halsin because I didn't touch his quest, we move on to Act 3 and the city of Baldur's Gate. Finally, somewhere civilized. Act 3 is kind of weird with achievements because there's actually only a few things we need to do. But first I head to the refugee camp to talk to the tieflings. I don't think this is a needed step, but it's nice to think that they're all only here because of me. I head under the temple where there was a murder to find some Balers, one of which has a flowery key, which we'll need in a little bit. I sneak around the side of Worm's Crossing to avoid the guards, head into the flop house, meet Astarian siblings, didn't know they were here, before heading upstairs to the secret Baler room to find the note with murder targets on it. With this I can get a city pass from the elephant, and before leaving I talk to Raphael and Voss, and this conversation takes ages. I'm glad I was skipping through it. I also long rest to get an Emperor event. I'm pretty sure this event unlocks once you hear about Duke Stelmane's death. In the event, I'm nice to the Emperor and even hold his hand. Yeah, you know where this is going. I then fought the imposter Harpers with Jaheira, but my footage freaked out for some reason, but this is the only part that glitched out, so I guess it's fine. After that, we got ready to enter Baldur's Gate properly, but first we had to do the Gortash coronation. I did not fight him here. We might have been able to take him, but thankfully I had a plan. I talked to Mizora downstairs and then long rest to get Will to break his pact, finally getting his companion achievement. I long rest again after getting into the city proper to go on a nice date with Karlach and get her companion achievement. And maybe there was a game of hide the sausage after, but who knows? I know, you don't know. Finally, in the city itself, I head to the tavern, drink some alcohol with Gale, head to the cellar, and in true wizard fashion, cast Fireball and kill a bunch of rats to get the trophy for defeating 20 enemies while drunk. Moving forward, I defeat the Gith down here, check out the Emperor's stuff before progressing to the sewers where it's revealed that Orin took Lae'zel. No, not Lae'zel, whatever will I do? While exploring, I found Arabella down here. Didn't know she was here, and what is her deal? She's so mysterious in this back half of the game. Is this just sequel bait, or is there some lore I don't know? Heading back up, we stop Top Dollar from murdering Cora, and then again at Figaro, looting the bag of hands from Top Dollar's body. I then long rested and romanced the Emperor. I just did it for the achievement. The tentacles do nothing for me. I'm not into, let's just go with rated M for mature anime. Most of Act 3 is actually unimportant when it comes to achievements. It's only Ansur, Gortash, and Orin who have any associated with them before the endgame. You do need to reach level 12 though, so that's what I did next. Just some quests so that I could level up. I went to the Thieves Guild where I found Mole, so we know she's safe, and then went and did the fight in the bank. I went to save Volo, but accidentally let him explode after the fight. Whoops. For one final time, he's not a tiefling, so that's not my problem. I got a quest from the shiny lady to kill their friend's killer, who is actually a submarine, before heading to the sewer to take out these guys and recruit Minsk, who I never used, but at least he's here for some moral support. I then followed up by helping the guild thrash the Zentarium, followed by something that actually is important in the Murder Tribunal. I actually deviated from my mostly good aligned playthrough so far, killed the annoying elephant and became an unholy assassin for another achievement. I then went to deal with Loroaken, which again I actually had to be careful in, as if you're nice to him the whole game, Roland actually joins your side here, which means I had to keep him alive. My first try he got ganked, but my second we took out Loroaken turn 1 and the elementals left him alone. I really like that this way you get both the Night Song and the Tower to help you in the final battle, by the way. A third option is really good. More grinding after that, I did the Cazador quest where I probably should have let Astarion ascend, but I really like the scene if he doesn't, so that's what I did. I went and finished Shadowheart's quest at the House of Grief, and then went to the Iron Throne to save the hostages, and I managed to save all of them except Duke Ravengard. Sorry, Will, I really feel like I've neglected you this run. Up next was the Steelwatch Foundry, where I actually managed to keep most of the Gondians alive for like the first time ever, and also actually fought the boss at the end instead of invisibly sneaking past it for the first time ever. After all this, I had hit level 12, which meant it was finally time to get more trophies, after several hours. You know, the point of the video. I finally got a Hireling from Withers for one achievement, and then made sure to multi-class them every level so they had one level of each class at level 12 for another. If you have a level 12 character, it really is this easy to get this one. I then got a Bard Hireling and played some music throughout town for a bit until 100 gold pieces were thrown at me by civilians for one more achievement in this section. After that, I went to Worm's Rock to deal with Gortash. I went this very specific route that I'm actually just going to play all of so you can see how I got here. Now I'm at him, I'm gonna Eldritch Blast these two traps here, which does not activate them as long as you don't get into range, which makes it so I have a decent amount of room to fight Gortash in without triggering traps. And after defeating him, I got one more trophy. I then headed through the secret exit in the prison to the Worm Way, which, after solving all the puzzle trial rooms, led to Answer, and I even brought Will, as this is like his quest's final boss, even though it has basically nothing to do with Will. Anyway, Answer's achievement needs you to wait to kill him until he starts storing power. I didn't get this the first time, almost died to the big attack that follows, and then kills him when he was attempting to charge a second time. Finally, the end is in sight, as I made my way to the Baal Temple to kill Orin. We have a problem here though. You see, the trophy needs you to defeat Orin while the cultists are chanting the ritual, but as the Dark Urge you do a 1v1 with Orin instead, and the ritual never starts. How to get around this is pretty easy actually. You just start the conversation as someone else with the Dark Urge out of range, and then have them rejoin once the battle starts. Orin has a ton of unstoppable stacks, but that's nothing Magic Missile can't fix. After the battle is where something really important happens. You get to choose whether to obey or defy Baal, and here you must make a save and turn off autosave. I had it off the whole game, but it needs to be off here if you want to get all the achievements. I naturally accepted Baal, got the Slayer form in the process for another trophy, and went to do endgame stuff. Killing Jaheira and Minsk, who attacked me for who my parents are. Not cool guys. Skipping through a lot of endgame stuff, I choose to become a Mind Flayer, which I didn't need to do, but more power is better than not. Once again, skipping through like an hour of my life in the courtyard battle, I forgot how long it was. We get to the top of the brain for the final battle, and before heading to the main brain body, we kill this dragon for a trophy. He's a tough foe, but we've really been through it at this point. I defeat the brain, and am given the choice to either destroy or control the brain for Baal. I picked the latter, of course, finally finishing the game, and a bunch of trophies popped all at once, which made the notifications not pop correctly, which was annoying, but seeing here you can see that no, you cannot platinum Baldur's Gate 3 in one playthrough. The trophies I have left are first, the normal evil ending, which you can only get by rejecting Baal, and then getting the good ending, and getting the good ending as a Mind Flayer, which you can't do on a run where you go for the Baal ending, obviously. This means that what popped at the end of the game were beat the game, beat Tactician, beat Honor Mode, the Baal ending, and save every tiefling throughout the game. However, that's kinda lame. I'm not gonna just not get those last few. I reloaded the save I made, rejected Baal, went through the whole endgame again, this time just running through the courtyard battle as fast as possible, while also becoming a Mind Flayer again, defeated the brain again, made a save at the choice, picked the normal evil ending for that trophy, reloaded the final choice, and picked to destroy the brain for the good ending, netting my final 2 achievements and the platinum trophy. So I ask again, can you platinum Baldur's Gate 3 in one playthrough? Well, no, but you can get pretty damn close. No matter what you do, you need to do the endgame sequence twice, and because of that I don't consider it one playthrough. If I allowed reloads to still be one playthrough, I could just reload an early game save and do whatever I missed after beating the game. It's not really in the spirit of the challenge. Overall, this challenge took me just shy of 30 hours, but that's with the caveat that I went in with a plan, knowing what I'm doing, and I was skipping through all the dialogue and cutscenes. This is not a 30-hour first playthrough platinum. I do think though that the platinum is a lot easier than it seems, and the percentages would suggest though. I know I was pretty intimidated before I played this the first time, but after doing this challenge, this games list is not that difficult, especially if you use the honor mode exploit. Obviously that's a massive factor, but I'm obviously taking that into account. Fun challenge though, at least until Act 3. Most of the act was just a normal playthrough, which is fine, it's still a good game, right? I just wish they asked me to do more things a bit out of my way that I wouldn't normally do. And that's the video. How many achievements do you have? Am I a massive fraud for exploiting the game how I did? Let me know all that and more in the comments, and while you're down there, why not like if you liked it and subscribe if you want to see more. It's free, helps me out, and gives you easier access to my videos, both old and new. They're all achievement or trophy related, so stick around if you like that sort of thing. This video was really fun to make, and after doing it, it's kind of crazy how much stuff the game doesn't need you to do for the platinum. Like, I didn't do any of the Auntie Ethel stuff or Halsin's Act 2 quest, among many other things I probably don't even know about. Game's a lot bigger than even I thought. Thank you for watching this video to the end. For now though, I'm off on them troves, and I'll see you next time.